Hey everyone, just going to do a quick look at this laptop here that I picked up for a younger sibling of mine who just needed a cheap laptop that gets the job done for a budget of under 400 Canadian dollars. And me, myself, I've never been someone to shy away from trying cheap Chinese knockoff products and seeing if there are any hidden gems. I found a good number of them throughout the years, and so I thought, oh, let's give it a try this time. And I haven't seen many people post about this laptop at all, especially legitimately, and so I thought I would just make a quick video about it and see what I got. This is not a sponsored video, I paid for this with my own money, so let's check it out. This is the Acemagic, also known as Mall Race LX15 laptop. It has an Intel N97 processor, which is very similar to the N100. It's a quad-core that is 4 E-cores that boost up to 3.7 gigahertz. It actually slots in slightly above the N100. It's basically the same chip, same GPU, 24 compute unit Intel Xe. Despite having a smaller number, it is basically the same chip but clocked a bit higher than the N100. I don't know what Intel's doing nowadays, but that's what's in it. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, and this all came in for 370 Canadian dollars, which seemed to be quite a good deal. So let's take a look at the outside here. It is just some plastic that's made to look like aluminum, even though it's not. It doesn't feel bad though. Flex and sturdiness wise, it actually is pretty good. It feels definitely better to hold than I would have thought out of how cheap of a laptop this is. On the side here, you got a Kensington lock port, the power plug, which is unfortunately a barrel plug. That is one of the main gripes that I have with this computer. I wished it could have been able to be charged with USB-C, which it does have a USB-C port right next to the barrel plug, but alas, you cannot charge with that. And it's also only a 45-watt charger, so it definitely could have been USB-C capable, but this unit specifically isn't. There's a full-size HDMI port and a USB-A 3.0 port right there. Might be 3.1 or 3.2, but USB 3 in general. And on the other side, you got a micro SD card slot, 2 more USB 3A ports, and a combo headset, headphone, microphone jack there. And open this guy up. We got a 15-inch 1920 by 1080 IPS display. It's quite a nice display, and that was the main reason I picked this laptop, actually, because aside from having decent specs, which there are some others in this price range that did, this was the only one that I saw that had seemingly a decent screen. A lot of other ones had either 15-inch screens, 15-inch was the size that she wanted, but they would be either 1366 by 768 panels in this day and age somehow, or 1080 resolution, but a really horrible TN panel with awful colors and viewing angles that would invert the colors when you went even slightly off axis. This one claimed to have a decent IPS screen, and it definitely does. It's an enjoyable viewing experience for text, movies, videos, and so I think she's gonna genuinely be happy with this one with this screen on it. Down underneath, there is a close to full-size keyboard. It does have a numpad, which I was also glad to see. That is an added bonus for sure. Wasn't a deal breaker, but somehow there's a bunch of 15-inch laptops going around that just have giant bezels on either side and a standard keyboard that you'd find on a 14-inch laptop. This one at least does give you a numpad. There are speaker grills on both sides, although from what I can tell, the speakers don't actually exit out of there. They exit out of holes on the bottom, but there are stereo speakers, one on either side. Grill on the bottom there for your cooling. It does have a fan. It is very quiet. It basically only comes on under full load, and even then is practically inaudible. And whatever thermal solution, heat pipe solution that they're using seems to be quite effective, because the fan doesn't kick on until it's been under load for a good bit, probably about 30 seconds or so. And as soon as the load is taken away, it basically goes shuts off the fan immediately. But yeah, even then, haven't felt the bottom of it get hot. Even the exhaust air under load is only mildly warm, so fairly good thermal solution they have for the at least relatively low TDP of this chip. Aside from the barrel plug as opposed to USB-C, the feeling of the keyboard is probably the only other gripe I'd say I'd have with this laptop. It doesn't feel or sound great to type on, but it's not horrible either. I'll put a clip in for you here. But don't get me wrong, that's really nitpicking at this point. It's still perfectly adequate, and especially for the price of the laptop, this is a really cheap unit. For under $400, you are lucky to get a half-decent Chromebook from a name brand. So yeah, that is just really one of those just an observation, not really a complaint scenarios, especially taken into context here. The touchpad is also nice and big, nice and responsive, have no issues with it. Even scrolling gestures and everything work good. The clicking, if you choose to use that, does feel not the greatest, but is actually surprisingly clicky, which I'm not used to from laptops not nowadays. Maybe they just assume that everybody is going to use tap to click. I personally still like using the click function, so although it's not the most satisfying click sound, it is actually a pretty decent click. And so, yeah, definitely don't mind that at all, again, especially for the price. And squeezed into the slim top bezel there is a little webcam that has its own physical privacy shutter, which is always nice to see. As for software-wise, as you can see, it is running Windows 11 Pro, which is interesting because considering that this is just a really entry-level device, there's not really any need for it to have Pro as opposed to just the Home Edition, and there are allegations going around that these cheap Chinese laptops and mini desktop PCs aren't exactly running legitimate license of Windows, and that some of them have supposedly had malware and spyware out of the box, and so some people will prefer to bring home these cheap units and just do a complete fresh install of Windows, just so that they know that it's a complete clean install and there's nothing preloaded out of the box that they can't see. I'm in no position to comment on that on this particular unit, and for what it'll be used for, I really don't give a shit. But all I can say is that it is a seemingly very clean Windows install. There's no additional bloatware or anything on it. And one thing I did notice is that out of the box, it is configured to just let you sign in with a local account. You don't have to do the bypass NRO in the command prompt when you're setting it up or anything like that. It just lets you sign in with a local normal account, just like computers should work, if you ask me. Day-to-day usability and performance is plenty adequate for productivity, browsing. If this is going to be a Facebook machine, it has plenty of horsepower to do that. I haven't noticed any hitches or slowdowns or waiting for anything to load just from day-to-day usage. It is more than enough for that kind of task and is what the main reason I bought one of these for. What you shouldn't be buying one of these for is gaming, because it is not a gaming rig. If you're running even moderately demanding newer games, I tried Hot Wheels Unleashed on it and it was not a good time. It was getting about 15 to 20 FPS, and that was on 720p low, which is just a visual disaster that you don't want to look at. That's not to say that it can't game if you're playing just more casual games on it to kill time. I tried Cozy Grove, Spiritfarer, Life is Strange, and Sky Children of the Light, all of which ran at the native resolution at high settings, getting 50 to 60 FPS. And those kind of games and older, less demanding games are going to run fine on this. It has enough horsepower to do the casual stuff and kill time, but this is not the kind of thing that you're going to be buying to play more demanding games. I actually tried to open Pal World on this to see how badly it would run, and it wouldn't even launch at all. It just crashed with a render error. Which, interestingly, there is an exclusive WhatsApp customer service sticker on it, which I haven't tried contacting them yet, nor have I had the need to, but I can't help but notice, why does the icon on it look just like a Sky Kid? I took a more proper listen to them, and yes, basically the sound all comes out of the bottom. I didn't hear anything out of the top, and it makes no difference if the top holes are blocked, so I don't really even know why they're there, which means that if you're using it on your lap, you gotta take care to not totally obstruct them with your legs. However, if it's on a table, and the sound is allowed to bounce off the table back at you, it actually sounds not bad. Cheaper laptops used to have really horrible, tinny speakers, and although these aren't mind-blowing by any means, they do the job for quieter listening to music. There's basically no bass, but it's not screeching, hollow, tinny either. And if you're listening to podcasts or just people talking, then it definitely is enough to do the job. I will put some samples up just so that you can hear it for yourself.
decelerate, it regens, and then the nose dips down. You might not notice this if you're used to this car, but if you're used to other cars like rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, then...
Alright, let's take a quick peek inside. Taking it apart is very easy. Just remove all of the Phillips screws around the edge of it. The top corner, this screw and this screw here are slightly longer, so those are the only two you have to keep track of, but the rest of them are all the same. And so let's lift off the cover here. This is actually going to be the first time I'm taking a look inside too, so let's see what we find. Wowzer, look at that! Socketed memory and storage. I was not expecting that. I was totally expecting that, as with many of these N95, N100 systems, that this one would have soldered on memory, but that's not the case. Pull the power here. Take a look at what we got. This is just single channel memory. It is DDR4 by the looks of it. Interesting. Would have thought it'd be DDR5 like I'd seen in some N100 systems, but that's probably part of what makes the gaming performance not as great as it could be, is that it is just running single channel and relatively slow RAM compared to DDR4, but still, at least it's upgradable. If you can find a 32 gig SODIMM and can make use of 32 gig, then it is upgradable. And the storage here is an M.2 drive, 2280 SATA drive. Huh. That's interesting. I would have thought that it would be an NVMe drive, but no, it seems to be a SATA-based NGFF drive. However, given this platform, there should be no reason that it wouldn't be able to accept an NVMe drive. And given the performance of the PC, really, there's technically a speed difference, but not one that you're going to notice anyways. But yeah, that is also upgradable. If 512 isn't enough and you want to throw in a 1 or 2 terabyte unit in there, you definitely can. I should probably plug the battery back in. But yeah, that is very serviceable. I was not expecting that at all from this unit, and that makes me a bit happier about it. Battery is very easy to replace. If that needs to be, just remove some screws, unplug it as you just saw me do. Speakers aren't literally not even held in with anything. So if you manage to blow one and need to put a replacement in, there's that. And the CPU cooler, which the main reason that one would need to be in here if anything doesn't need replacing is to clean that out in the case that it ends up getting really dusty, which should be fairly easy to just blow some air through there really and it'll just get the dust bunnies out, or to replace the thermal paste, which would also be a very easy process. Looks like that cooler just very easily removable there. Yeah, repairability and upgradability is surprisingly good on this one. Battery life is not too shabby. At 80%, it estimates right at around 4 hours, which is basically what I've been getting with it. With the screen at half, 2/3-ish brightness, and just doing normal tasks like browsing the internet, watching YouTube, I have been getting about 4 to 5 hours on a charge. But yeah, all in all, this is a genuinely really good value laptop if that's what you're looking for. If you just want something that does general productivity and web browsing, you want a nice, vibrant screen with good resolution and viewing angles, enough horsepower to handle those productivity tasks, 16 gigs of RAM is a big help and what stands out from a lot of other laptops in this price range that still come with 8, because going from 8 to 16, even just doing web browsing, makes a big difference in Windows nowadays. And it has pretty good build quality and usability for, again, this cheap of a laptop as well. So yeah, I can definitely recommend it. I'll leave a link down in the description below of where I got it on Amazon Canada. It might be different in your country, or you might be able to source it elsewhere. That I'm not quite sure about, but this is just to put something out there for those who do come across this particular model of laptop and just wanted to get a genuine review on it, because again, I spent my own money on this laptop. It is not a paid or sponsored review at all. But yeah, if this was helpful to you, then I would be happy to know down in the comments, or just leave a like down below. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe, because this is just my channel where I post about literally anything and everything that tickles my fancy. So it's not all about specifically laptop content. It just so happened that I picked up this one and wanted to talk about it. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. If you have any other questions, then just let me know down in the comments below and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. But otherwise, hope you have a very great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.